What's up, fellas? Alright, so 2011 Kawasaki Vaquero. Now, if you're like me and your wife rides on the back, this seat, yeah, she hates this seat. This seat sucks. It's very narrow. It's barely the width of my hand at the back. It's very thin. There's not a lot of padding to this. This seat just sucks for your passenger. So let's get rid of that seat. Let's show you what I put on the bike. This is a seat for a Voyager. So a few parts are needed in order to do this. The seat, obviously, and I'll show you everything else, but look at how much more room is on this seat. Now, this particular seat is the Kawasaki optional gel seat, and let me tell you, this thing is fantastic. I've only got a little over an hour of ride time on it so far, but even for me, this is a nice improvement over the factory seat. Now, this section of the seat, the rider section, really isn't much different than the factory seat was for the Vaquero. But being a gel seat, definitely like this. Now this seat comes off a little differently than the factory seat did. So the factory seat comes off, as you see down there, in one nice big chunk. No, not the Voyager seats. So the Voyager seat still releases the same way with the key, but it comes off in two pieces. So here's the first piece. And then you have the rider seat, which is completely separate. Now, you can't solo seat this bike this way because this seat is not held on with anything other than gravity at the moment. There's nothing actually holding it on. In fact, you just pick it up like this, pull back a little bit, and there you go. This seat's off the bike. Okay? So, unfortunately, you can't use it as a solo seat, which I was kind of hoping you could, but nope, that's not how it works. All right, so let's go over what you need to do to the bike in order to make that seat work. So, first thing you're going to need is this guy right here. And make sure you bolt it on this way, because I goofed up and bolted it on the other way originally, and that don't work. So it's got to go on this way. You got two 10mm headed bolts here. These are metric threads and a couple of nuts. I got all of this stuff to do this, all these parts from Babbitt's Online. And all this crap's on back order. It doesn't matter where you order it from, it's all on back order. I looked all over the internet before I ordered it, but they had good prices and good shipping and good customer service, so they got my business. So in order to bolt this on, because it goes through the fenders, there are no nuts welded into this fender, okay? So you have to put nuts in from up underneath. And in order to do that, you have to take off a saddlebag. Now, I had it up on this lift like this, so for me, I decided to remove this saddlebag. If you're doing it with the bike on the stand, sitting on the side stand, you're going to want to remove that saddlebag. Either saddlebag, doesn't matter which bag you remove. If you've never removed a saddlebag from a Vaquero, it's stupid easy. There is, in here, there is one 10mm bolt, two 10mm bolt. Okay, take those two bolts out. Once you're done and you have those two bolts out, so once those two bolts are removed from the bag, close your door back up, take your key back out of it, and just lift straight up. And it literally has two little feet down here that are sitting in to a frame. And then it's hard to see, but right in there, there's one little latch piece, which is, there we go, I got some light on it, right there. That little latch right there. That little guy is just kind of clawed over a little mount piece in there. That keeps the top of the bag steady. So once you've done that, the bag won't fall off the bike. You can put your bolts back in. You don't have to worry about it falling off the bike. It's on there. It's not going anywhere, which is really nice because when you've unbolted it or you're bolting it back on, you don't have to keep a hand on it to make sure it doesn't fall off the bike. Okay? So once you've got access, put your bracket in, drop your bolts down, two 10mm nuts from the bottom, tighten them up. Next thing you got to do, you need to remove this bracket from the bike. In order to get this bracket off the bike on a Vaquero, you take out this screw, and this assembly will lift off and free this bracket because it's just trapped between this bracket and the seat latch assembly. That'll get this bracket off. Now from the factory, there's a little tang stuck off here at a 45-degree angle, has two nuts welded into it. On my bike, nothing was bolted to it. I don't know what purpose it serves, but it is in the way of this seat bracket right here. That thing will not go down, has to go down over this stud. It will not go down over this stud with that on there. You have to cut that off. okay? Once you've cut that off, your next problem is going to be once you have this all bolted back together and you try to bolt this cable back in, this is the cable for the release that runs down to your little release right here. Once you try to bolt this back in, this is normally flipped the other way where the cable's over here. Again, it's in the way. So what you'll have to do is flip this upside down, bolt it on upside down, and then right here, this is normally bent at an angle down this way. That puts too much of a bind on the cable here. So you need to bend this just like I have. So you can see how I've bent this. This is bent the opposite direction of what it originally was. It was bent the other way so that it was angled down like that, okay? Bend that back, tighten this bolt up. Okay, I threw a little grease in here just because, you know, I had it apart service. That's it. Once you've done that, then you can drop that seat on, then that seat on, latch it in, you're good to go. You now have a Voyager seat on a Vaquero. And you can still put, let's see if I can do this one-handed, I probably can't. You can still put the Vaquero seat on here, okay? It's just not as easy to do as it was before. Hang on a minute, I'm gonna set you down right here. I don't know how much you're gonna be able to see when I do this. I gotta get this thing lined up. So once you get it in there, it's not quite as easy to do as it was before. It's a little bit more difficult to get it to line up, and that is because that bracket right down there, that guy, it's hitting the bottom of the seat. I don't know if you can see that or not. It hits the bottom of the seat, okay? So once you get it in there and you get it latched in place, you'll see this is hitting the bottom of the seat and it's actually holding the seat up like this. Now mine has all the little rubber tabs. Let me show you these rubber tabs I'm talking about, removed. So it's a little loose on my bike. Okay, so these guys right here, these little rubber tabs, I had to pull all those off of my Vaquero seat and put them onto my Voyager seat because this is the factory gel seat. The gel seat is meant to be an upgrade to the Voyager, so it doesn't come with everything you need to bolt it to the bike. So if you order this gel seat kit like I did, you're gonna need to order more parts, okay? I was not aware of this. This showed up and I was kind of pissed. So these little rubber bumpers, you need 9 of these guys, okay? You need this bracket. You need 4 of this little 10mm nut right here, okay? 2 for this seat, 2 for this seat. On this seat, you'll have, sorry guys, trying to film and move stuff around. So on the rider seat, you've got more of these things. So there's 9 total. There's 5 on the rider seat. There's 4. There's 5. There's 4 on the pillion seat. You'll need this bracket, and these are where the other 2 nuts that I was talking about go. You need 6 of these nuts right here total. Okay, 6 of those nuts total, because 2 of them go back there on that bracket back there. Okay, now you can still put the Vaquero seat on there if you like the Vaquero seat. It doesn't fit quite as well, like I said, because of this bracket that's back here now. So this thing is such a pain in the ass to get off one-handed. I gotta set you back down. Okay, so that's back off again. So that rear bracket right here for the Voyager seat does get a little bit in the way. It does push up on the bottom of the Vaquero seat just slightly and creates a little bit more of a fender gap. They do have a little fender gap there from the factory, but it does make this fender, the gap between the fender, a little bit more prominent. So the Voyager seat is real easy to put on compared to the Vaquero seat because it's in 2 pieces. So you can set this guy down into here like this, get the front little tang in, and then these guys right here need to go over these little studs, just like that, right there. So those sit over these little studs, okay? Now these little rubber bushings, if you order this gel seat, you'll also have to order these little rubber bushings because they don't come with the bracket. I know, this is kind of annoying, all these parts you have to order, isn't it? Now, to put this guy on, we just set it down here, kind of slide it underneath that bracket there, and then you'll see it'll line up right there, just like that. Line up and then just push it down. There you go, latched on. And let me tell you, that is so much more comfortable for my wife. She says this is probably the most comfortable pillion seat of any bike I've ever owned. I've owned a bunch of different bikes. I've owned Harleys, I've owned Hondas. This is my first cow. But she absolutely loves this. She says this is super comfortable. She rode on this for like an hour the other day, and she said she did not have numb bum going on or anything like that. She was very comfy. She does want floorboards. But other than that, she said this was awesome. And I had an Ultimate Big Boy on my last bike with their pillion and their back pad for the sissy bar. It was on my other bike. And she said that's actually better, which I was blown away by, considering this is much less expensive. And now I won't say that this is as good as the Ultimate Big Boy, but I will say this, all total with all the brackets and all the hardware and everything, I got that seat from somebody who bought it and then didn't want it for whatever reason for like 250 bucks. I'm like $300 total into that seat conversion. And my Ultimate seat was around $880 for $890, something like that, for the rider seat, the pillion, and a back pad. I didn't need to do a back pad here because I already had one, but I didn't have one on my other bike, so I had to. So this seat is, I'm about a third the money into this seat that I was into that seat. And this is 95% of that seat for comfort to me. I mean, everybody's butt is different, but my butt likes that. So, you know, I don't know if your butt will like it or not, but I don't think it necessarily ruins the lines of the bike. Yeah, it is a big seat. And yes, I do think that seat looks great on the bike. And when she's not on the bike, I can throw it on there if I want to, though this is more comfortable by quite a bit. So I don't expect I'll actually use this seat much. I do need to get a backrest kit for it. They make backrests that go into here and bolt in and come up and give you a backrest for the rider. I've got lower back issues, so I need a backrest. It helps my back out a lot. But this seat, the way it is set up, kicked out on some highway pegs going down the road. Oh my God, dude, like riding a lazy boy. So that's how you put a Voyager seat on a Vaquero. Now, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same for every year Vaquero, but don't quote me on that. If your bike is a little different, you're just going to have to figure it out. I know this is how I did it on my 11. Is a 2021 the same? I can't say for sure, but I don't think they've changed much on this bike, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. So, yep, there you go, folks. Give me a thumbs up. You know, hit like if you like this video. Leave a comment below. You know, anything helps. Thanks, guys.